All right, and then we do our check here, and we see what that looks like. Am I live on David Collins' channel, or did I accidentally go on the Blind Mike Project? That would be embarrassing. Oh no, here we are. Perfect. We're live on the David Collins YouTube channel. 2 hours ago. Well, this isn't working, right? Alright, well, at least I'm not live on that channel. That's a good first test. Boy, was today a disaster. And that's why I'm here, actually, to try to talk about that a little bit here. Let's just make sure that I'm live. This is why we have the Be Right Back sticker going for the first couple of minutes of Drive Time David Collins. Oh, here we are. Perfect. I'm live here, and I've pulled up the chat as best as I know how, so that way I can kind of talk with some of the people here, and we can kind of clear this up. I thought I'd play a little chess this evening, and maybe this is still a little loud. Anybody want to let me know if that's a little loud still? Hopefully this is all working properly. So I wanted to talk a little about this morning show and a couple of things there, and just kind of touch base on some of those subjects. As for David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, we're having a pretty great season there. We've had some great guests. Most recently, we had Manny Muskets on the show. And then next week, we have somebody out of Cleveland, actually. I'm not sure if he's associated or knows much about Ray DeVito or anything like that, but that's who's coming up on next week's episode. It's somebody out of Cleveland there, and he has a great show himself that I'm really interested in plugging there and learning more about over the weekend as we research him coming on the show. Drive Time David Collins today. According to a few messages, I think people were being nice there, and a couple of people in person there. It wasn't a complete disaster, but I was pretty unhappy with it. And I have some things I wanted to say on the subject there. So last week, after the Austin Ingalls episode, we stopped Drive Time David Collins, of course, and then we transitioned to Matt Ferry has his own Post4 Productions podcast there. So we had the opportunity to interview Austin Ingalls, more long form there for an hour. And this week we did the same thing with Robert Wallace on that Post4 Productions channel. And I'll probably share that in the community tab of the YouTube here, just so people have that there. But as soon as we go onto that platform, it's been 2 hours now. Robert Wallace is good and awake, and you can't stop him from telling a great story. I mean, we stopped Drive Time David Collins today. I went in the other room just to take a breath of fresh air, and I walk back in, and Matt Ferry's laughing. He's saying, "No way." Robert Wallace is telling a story about him being swimming in a lake for 5 hours waiting to be rescued. He's got these unbelievable stories. On the Post4 Productions show, we talked a lot about his enforcing days and things like that, and a lot of really interesting stories that I just was not able to successfully kind of pull out of him on Drive Time David Collins today. And it really turned into a mess of a production. I felt like reconnect. Well, clearly I'm connected to something here. We're just going to reset there. Got a text. That's okay. So that was kind of what happened today on Drive Time David Collins. It felt like a real disaster, and I should have just planned for a backup. I really counted on. I've never ran into Robert Sidney Wallace there, and he hasn't been the most talkative person in the room, and I was really looking forward to presenting that on the show today, and we weren't really able to pull that out of him, so it was a little unfortunate, and I've kind of been stewing all day wishing that I had brought something more to the show. Of course, we started the show there with just chatting things up and Blind Mike Project clip, and then we went into our coverage of the Madison Card Show, which I thought went pretty well, and it was what it was. I figured we were going to be losing some people with that, but it was some straight news coverage of the event, and I thought we did a great job there with the interviews, and I wanted to present that in the whole narrative form, and I thought it was a great platform to do so. So we definitely did that, and I think it went pretty well. It wasn't the worst part about the show. That ends, and I'm trying to get, Robert Wallace does have sports cards. He has something to offer when it comes to that, but he was just waking up there. We had an issue with the coffee when I first got in, and it was just a mess. I don't mean to make excuses, and of course he's a great performer and a great comedian. I wouldn't want to sound like I'm slighting him in any way there, but it was a pretty unfortunate disaster this morning, if you ask me. Some other people kind of disagreed there, but I think it should have gone a lot better. They say don't put all your eggs in one basket, and I think I kind of made that mistake today. And we could have put more notes there. I could have pulled some things. We have some things already planned for next week. I could have just moved them to the front of the show there. So that's what kind of happened this morning. So I thought I'd go live here, maybe talk with some of the chat there if that were to come up today, and just kind of play some chess this evening, greet some people back on their way back from work, since one thing, we did kind of greet people on their way to work this morning, which is always nice. We didn't get any callers either, and I thought that callers interacting with Robert Wallace might have been a pretty good way to go about things, and that didn't end up happening today either. So basically just every plan that I had for this morning fell through and turned into a disaster. I wouldn't want to blame, I got enough sleep and everything. I just could have put more into the actual prep of the show in case we were to run into that fluke with Robert Sidney Wallace. I mean, thank goodness he was actually in the room there. It could have been a disaster that he called me that morning and said, oh, something's come up, I won't even be able to make it. Then we really would have been in for it, because I had just put all my confidence that he would be filling the room like he does every other time that I see him there. So that was all that kind of happened this morning with Drive Time David Collins, and I kind of wanted to come on and mention that and kind of air it out there. I thought Austin Ingalls' episode was a great show, and more kind of symbolized what we want to make that show into. This week we took a bit of a gamble, or quite a shot there, trying to get... this is my least favorite part. I like to play this position here where I try to get a trick on the knight when I play white here. It's the Ponziani. It's the only real opening that I know by name. But I always get a little tripped up when they decide to go this angle here. But we'll just continue. We don't want to block our queen from defending this particular pawn here, which is really what we're covering here. We want him to take this, but maybe not right this moment. But it may happen anyway. Hopefully he just leaves the knight there. And that's kind of the goal of this opening here. But that's all it was there. We also had to have an issue. We had a little meeting after we recorded that with Robert Wallace following Drive Time David Collins. Of course, Matt Ferry's own post-4 production show, which is more of a up-close interview, and it is interesting. I've been able to sit in with those for the last couple of episodes, which has been nice. But following that, Matt Ferry and I had a little meeting, and we talked a little about the chat specifically and how I would like to kind of think about that going forward and how we want to interact there, and we want to make sure that we're not... It was just a little, I don't want to focus on the chat, of course. That's not the primary focus of the show, so we've talked a lot about that, but I think I've gotten in his head at this point where we're completely ignoring all of the chat, which isn't exactly the angle that I want to go either. This is really turning into an interesting opening here, but we're just going to nip it in the bud, I think, and kind of cut our losses. It wasn't the plan that I was hoping for, but when he's bringing ace-queen out, I guess I don't really know what else I'm supposed to do. So that was kind of going on this morning on Drive Time David Collins, and I wanted to air that out a little bit. It's very disappointing. Of course, we're looking for a much more professional production, and I don't think I was able to hit that metric this morning. This is a real problem here. I think we're going to be safe to make this move with our bishop. Everything's defended. The goal here is going to be to get the rest of my pieces out so I can castle and start getting my things kind of lined up here. But that's what it was. Drive Time David Collins. Next week, we're a little split on the third mic that we want to have there, especially after today. Oh, well, isn't this great? He's gonna move his queen right there, and I want to keep this covered. Otherwise, we're in for a real disaster. Oh, well, I can just take this. Wouldn't this be pretty convenient? I think once he set himself up, he was kind of forced to make a move there. But if anybody any questions about that, or if anybody saw something different there, I just had a different expectation of what that would look like, and it didn't turn out that way. But I think next week's going to be a bit of correction there, and we're going to be able to resolve some of those issues. Am I wrong here? Oh, I see. And then he'll just force me to move my king out. That's what he's looking for. That's okay. We'll take it. I'll move my king out here. I'd rather that than what I was looking at with the pawns. Really? But other than that, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world, and I've actually done a lot of thinking about it. We took a lot of notes, and we're looking forward to, of course, David Collins' 30-minute hour show is going to be recording before then, so that's really what I'm kind of focused on today, and I had a lot of other work that I kind of had to get done today, so I haven't been able to focus entirely on the show, but tomorrow we'll probably do the majority of our prep for next Tuesday's recording of David Collins' 30-minute hour show, and then this weekend I'll be looking more about what Drive Time David Collins looks like. I just had a lot I kind of wanted to air out about today. It really felt pretty unfortunate, if you ask me, but I don't think there was much I could do. I'm a little concerned now. I don't know what's happening in this game of chess here. I'm in a pretty good position, even though my king is just marching out forward, but I'm going to be in a good position here to get a lead, I think, in any move. He's going to have to move his king or castle, and then but we'll see. If anybody had any questions about that show there, I think that was kind of all I had to say about it. Oh, yeah, and then going forward to just try to read the chat. So, like, for instance, we had this little meeting there, and I had just said, I don't know what this person is thinking or doing. We're just going to go back and forth, maybe? So in our little meeting, I just said, in the future, if I say what's going on in the live chat, and the response is nothing, I think, oh, well, there's actually nothing going on in the live chat there. And following that, so that we kind of cleared up that confusion. I said, well, just mention something that's happening there so I know it's not completely empty. And then I have something, if I'm asking what's going on in the live chat, I'm looking for anything to grasp onto, and I'm feeling a bit in a panic. And that's kind of the situation that we were running into today, so we're just kind of working out the kinks when it comes to some of those things. But mainly, I just put all my eggs in one basket today, and it didn't turn out to go the way that I had hoped. If I do any move here with the bishop, I get this king lined up with I get the king and queen lined up with the rook, and then it's pretty much just a done game, I think. So that's kind of the plan that we're going for. Might even just give him. He takes, I line it up, he takes again, I take his queen. So he gets 2 pieces, I'll give him a decision. How about that? We'll give him a decision to make. Pick your piece, because either way, I get the queen back at the end of the round. You know what he could actually do here? I feel pretty silly. He could just check me again right here, and then go ahead and take his bishop. Which hopefully he doesn't do. I could have moved the bishop anywhere to set this up, and I moved it in a place where he can check me and just take the bishop right away. I guess in that case, I get my rook, but pretty odd game going, pretty low elo game. As you might see, I've jumped below 1,000 in chess recently, which is not the best news. Oh, that was a smart move. He figured out what was happening there. If I can't castle, he won't either. And then we just move on with the game. See if we get anything in the chat. I'm not sure if this live chat is just... Oh, there are some chatters. I apologize. It wasn't loading for me, so I had to go through. Oh, hello, Spurg, Snake. Hello, Mike Larson. If only Drive Time Show had some big celebrity to promote it. You know, Mike Larson, I might prefer it not to be promoted. You know, there's a thing about what's the word, overexposure, and we've tried to kind of avoid that. So it's interesting. I love a good bit though. Big fan of those bits. What do I need to do here? I should have a. I think I have a lead in this. No. Oh no, he's just 3 pawns up. It appears. Well, we'll need to figure something out this game here. I could just march up and take this pawn with my king, but I think we need to do something about these pawns, otherwise he'll just be free for the taking once he gets any movement going. Hello, D3C IMU 55. I see you. Everyone knows Rolling Rock cans are the best. You know, Stone, I used to drink a lot more Keystone, and I like Keystone. It smells like gasoline. But I've been drinking a little more Rolling Rock. Keystone has gone up in price, and it doesn't make it worth it anymore. So you're back to the Rolling Rock. My cousin, infamously, used to drink 30 racks of Rolling Rock almost every night. It's a true story. He's just going to continue marching that pawn in. I really don't feel good about this game. I thought I had a good advantage at some point, and I've really thrown it away. You have no advice in this department? Well, that's okay. I actually think it's illegal for me to take advice. I think they're very particular about that. But I am just going to be moving my bishop around pretty blankly here until I figure something out. I think we'll just go with this. I would like him to take it. He's just up 3 pawns, so we might be able to kind of make those back throughout. If Beer 30 is still a thing, it's a cheap alternative to Keystone. I've never been a natty ice kind of person myself, or something along those lines. So he takes that pawn, I just keep taking. I'm not sure what this move was for. He'll move his pawn up, but I just keep moving forward. I think he's finally given me an advantage move here. So yeah, I wanted to go live here, kind of talk about what happened this morning at Drive Time David Collins, my feelings about it, and what we're looking forward to in the future. This was so he could do a rook trade, I imagine. I wonder what's happening here. Where is your ideal man on the street interview place to be? Well, I really prefer, we've done a lot of these, and I like it when we just do street interviews outside of a comedy club when there are people going to see the show. My favorite format for street interviews is to talk to people on their way to a show as they enter the doors, and I like to catch people as they leave early, and we ask them why they're leaving early. Those are my 2 favorite moments. Of course, you can catch people as they're entering the venue. I want to take this pawn here. But as soon as I do, he's just going to move his rook back, and then he'll get both of these pawns pretty quickly after. So I'm not really sure. I think before we make that move, we want to set up in a way over here. But I'm not really sure. It's a pretty tricky thing because I have a pretty big disadvantage, I feel like. We'll do this first. Keystone isn't awful. You know what I really liked? Wild Turkey. I liked it too much. Well, you gotta be careful with the hard liquor, of course. I think a lot of people say that. I have no way to protect this rook. We're just gonna go back to the first rank, I guess. Or we could go right here and really ask for it. But I thought this would be a nice way to unwind right at a comedy festival. I think that's the great way. You get to talk with the openers and the headliners and people as they're kind of going in and out of the comedy show and get their experience. Also, people are very affable when they're going in and out of a comedy show. We'll go for this move, I suppose. I think we've made it to that point in the game where we gotta take our shot here. I take, and he blocks again. Well, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do here. I can't... Well, I guess I've earned my pawns back here, so we do have we're on our way. We're making progress. There's a fire. What's the third thing I'm grabbing? Well, I'll grab my laptop. Throw that in the bag. I'll throw my tablet in the bag. I have my phone. My hard drive, my external hard drive, and my backup is in the other room. So I would need that. I guess my external hard drive will be the third thing I'm grabbing. Uh-oh. He's doing something. Well, this is a pretty frustrating turn of events. Are you a shill for Hartford Insurance? That elk looks familiar. Oh, I wonder if they stole it from the artist. I enjoy your content so much. Well, thank you, Stone. My intention of going live here was to kind of talk about what happened at Drive Time David Collins today, but I kind of knocked that out in about 7 minutes, I think. I kind of said what I had to say about it, and it's no fault to anybody but myself. I just anticipated one thing, and it didn't turn out to go that way, so I don't think there's much you can say about it other than that. You know, as soon as he moves his rook over here, I can line it up. It's going to get tricky, I'm not sure. I'll look for the even trade on it, I think. We take an even trade of pawns, then he'll move the rook over here, anticipating taking that pawn, maybe. But as soon as he's out of there, I think I'll move my rook, and we'll look for the trade, getting my pawn pushed all the way here. We're so close. If I was him, I'd start moving that king over to that pawn. I'm not sure, am I incorrect there? That's why pencils have erasers, Dave. Don't sweat it. Well, thank you so much, Mark Larson. I think we're going to make up for it there in the future, but that's nice of you to say. I've really been thinking about it all day. I said, wow, we really... But it wasn't a problem. I get them nice positive words. I'm trying not to... You know, it's about learning from it and taking something good from it in the future. So that's what we're really looking forward to. Now I'm not sure what to do in this chess game. I think we're just going to continue to pressure this rook and move things forward. And that was what I was looking for. Because as soon as he moves that rook out of this file here, we can start going in for this bishop. And all I'm trying to do is trade that pawn for the bishop, and then I'll have a reasonable lead here. So then he takes the pawn, and then he moves the bishop down, and that checks me. Big fan here. Lister friends. Well, thanks so much. Love the show. You know, David Collins' 30-minute hour show. We have a great guest booked for next Tuesday, and I'm really looking forward to it. And he has a pretty fantastic podcast, too, in my opinion, and we're looking forward to talking a little about that, too. His co-host is a robot, and he's not Craig Ferguson. Love to see you collaborate with Luis J. Gomez. Well, he's continued to ignore us, but that's nice of you to say. I think he's going to let me win this queen here. If he gets behind me with that pawn, we have a real problem. So he moves the bishop here, and then he checks with the rook. I get out. He checks with the pawn. I could take the pawn. If he takes the queen, then I'll get the rook. Well, this is going well. Can you put a video of sprint car racing or cute animals on the screen too? Highlights of car chases would be good also. Well, I'm a little unprepared for that, to be honest, but could think about that for the future. Sprint car racing or cute animals on the screen also. What do we have here? I don't have anything right here on this screen here. I have a second webcam, an alert box, the splits, but that's not really appropriate here. Well, our dastardly friend, the king here, has decided to make a move. And we're making progress. This actually looks like we're gonna... Any plans to host the morning live show remotely? No plans. I like the studio, and I want to continue to increase and improve things there. And I also would love to... I would love to continue seeing great third mics in there, and I really like the... I don't want to say that I like the direction after today, but I do like the direction over course. You know, in a scatter graph, I like the direction that things are going, and I want to continue going in that direction. We we want to encourage those call-ins, and we want to try to figure out a way to get more regular callers using that Discord as a way to call in. I like that avenue, and it's actually very easy to preview the calls. There are a lot of good reasons for it. And also, we don't really have the technical setup there to be taking phone calls in a more professional way. So we're kind of playing around with some of our options there. But right now, we plan on keeping all of the people that you're seeing for Drive Time David Collins all in person there, the 3 mics. Oh, well, that's going to be game, it looks like. He's decided to throw it away just like that. We get a split with our bishop on the king and the rook, and we take our... Now, we don't have any pawns left, so we're going to have to do a rook and king checkmate today. So it might take a couple of minutes here to kind of navigate this, but that should go pretty well. Matt and I are a little split on who we want to bring on as the 3rd mic next week, so we're kind of playing along with that, but we should have a great show. I think we're both really looking forward to it. So I'm going to start by just clearing off both these pawns here. I think that's going to be the better way to go about things. Once my king's here, it's not going to need to move for the rest of the game until we get rid of that pawn over here. And we'll just look for a pretty quick checkmate while enjoying our Vivaldi. And I have some great segment ideas for next week, too. Like I said, we really just put a little too much investment for what I had anticipated our 3rd mic looking like this week. And even like I said, after the show, he had a lot of interesting stories to tell us. We just weren't able to pull that out of him during Drive Time David Collins this week. He still has moves. I just have to make sure I don't accidentally stalemate this is all. Check. If I move over, he doesn't have a move. I need to do something. I need to make sure that he still has moves here. So we're going to do this. And that will move him back to that same spot he was just at. Well, I don't want to block that either. If I move up here, he has a move. Boy, it's very confusing to try to get these checkmates like this. I don't want to accidentally stalemate him. He still has a move. That's all this is. This game's called He Still Has a Move. They'll make sure he goes there. Oh, here we go. And then he goes down to this B spot, and then we checkmate right here. All right. There's one in the books there. At least we got a couple of wins. At least we got one win today there. But you could see I had a few blunders, but luckily he had more. That was about it. Apparently the game thinks that... Oh, nope, it was mate in 1. I thought he might have had an opportunity to draw, but maybe not. All right, we'll go into our next game. Oh, I didn't want to... Excuse me. I don't know what these buttons mean. I don't want to play you again. I just want to play. So if anybody has questions about Drive Time David Collins there, that pretty much encapsulate there. Otherwise, we're just here for a little chess this evening and kind of answering those questions. The reality show is back on being edited, but as you can imagine, it's very difficult to kind of pick something up halfway there and get back into them with the same momentum. So we have gotten a few minutes extra of that edited. This 5th episode is going to cover the opening of the Jester's Lounge and a more optimistic look, as well as Delicious and I trip to Boston. I've never seen this response to moving the queen out like that, so we're seeing what that looks like, but just a casual game of chess here beginning. What talk show or podcast would you most like to be on? The View. Wouldn't that be interesting? Boy, this person loves trading his pieces. Lucky for him, so do I. Do you think he'll castle? I'm just kidding about the view, of course, but I mean, imagine if I could be on screen there with Stephen A. Smith. How lucky would I be? So he moves this pawn right here, and then I take, and he lines up the bishop with the take. That way he can take this pawn back. I think that would be a smart way. King's Gambit, what show or podcast would I most like to be on? Well, that'd be pretty difficult to say. Club Random. I mean, these are all outside of my grasp, of course. I would really get along with that Bill Maher fellow, though. Mike Larson. Love your comedy, David, and I'd love to hang around, but I've got to go. Stay black, big guy. Well, thanks, Mike. You too. I love the show too, and I want to keep it going. I hope we have some great guests in the future. I know next week's guest is going to be a great guest. I'm really looking forward to that. But also, you know, some of these people, it's very difficult to coordinate. And you wouldn't imagine the amount of people that end up just blocking me on social media. They say, yeah, we'd love to do the show. You follow up once, and then they just block you and end the conversation. You know, it wasn't that big of a deal. If you just said no politely. Some people say no politely, which is fine. It's kind of odd, the interactions that you have, though, with these people. What I want to avoid here, what he might be doing is just looking for an opportunity to kind of check my rook. So that's all I'm looking out for here. Not a move. None of these are moves that I expect. Hey, King Crab. Which piece is your favorite? I'm partial to the noble horse. Well, the knight can do some pretty fun things, that's for certain. Oh. Here comes a fancy move. Is he going to let me get away with this? I've lost so many games the last few days that I do like the rook. King Crab, I'll give you an honest answer. I like the rook. This person's really falling apart. He had no idea what risk he was at. This was the quickest game I could have imagined playing on stream. And he pays for the diamond subscription of chess, too. So he's really trying to learn. Unfortunately, it's apparently not going that well for him. But that's all right. We'll teach him a little lesson today. And we'll go ahead and just get our other rook out here. But this game is certainly already kind of wrapped up. He gave us a big advantage. I would like to do, a lot of shows. I really enjoy, but I don't really have any. I have no intention of, doing these shows. I don't know. I like the people that know about David Collins' 30.5-hour show and that find that and enjoy that show. I do have some sort of focus on the idea of curating the audience so that they enjoy the show. We don't want an audience of people that expect something else, and I don't want to have any concern about some people's expectations of the show and things like that. So I'm a little conscious of some of those things there, but I really enjoy being a third mic on a lot of different shows there. I find that to be a lot of fun. So whatever shows are always ever willing to have me, I'm generally pretty happy to just go make an appearance. Have you settled on aviator glasses, or will be a change in the future? Well, I'll tell you what happened, Spurg. I go out, especially this summer, when it's out, I'm out walking, I go around, I get a little too messed up, and I lose a pair of sunglasses somewhere. I have extras and they fall out there. I have a couple of pairs in rotation right now. I miss my old Lennon glasses. I really enjoyed those. Who knows whatever happened to those, but I think these are pretty. I really enjoy these, and I look at these too. I think they go well. I'm not sure if this picks up on the camera there, and I thought this would be such a funny gag for season 3, and nobody's even noticed. I thought season 3, why don't I go into season 3 with a pierced ear, and then maybe we'd get extreme with it, nobody's even noticed the earring that I've been wearing for all of season 3 of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, which is what it is. I just thought it would be a funnier gag, I suppose. You're a very good third on the Blind Mic Project. Well, I appreciate that, King Crab. I think that's my favorite position to be in. I like a good third mic there, and you get to just have fun and enjoy the show. And that's why I really enjoy Drive Time David Collins, too. We get to invite a third mic on every week, and it's a local comedian, and they get just to come on the show and have a good time. Oh, you know what's going to happen here? If he lines up the bishop here, he'll take my bishop. So we need to kind of prepare for that a little bit. What the hell is your morning show's direction? I like your 30-minute half-hour show. Mid-moke row show. You know, I would call that direction... What would be a good name for the direction of the show? Mountain biking. It's very rocky right now, but eventually we'll find a nice straight path downhill, and I really feel pretty strongly about that. I think things are on the right track. It's just a very difficult show to structure, and like I talked about here in the first 7 minutes of the stream, the third mic plays a big part, and I'm learning to kind of juggle what my expectation is with the third mic and what I prepare for the show. And we kind of are kind of going back and forth there. Also, Matt and I have a lot of discussions about notes and how we want to kind of address things in the future. And every week we're changing things up. The card break segment, I do feel fairly strongly about, and I've heard a lot about these sports card growing interest. A lot of the comedians that I've ran into over the last couple of years will kind of be talking to themselves, I've noticed, about some sports card related subjects. So I think it's something that garners interest. So I think if we can just find a way in an audio format to kind of present that, it could be a fine segment. So there's a lot of things that we're kind of working out there, but it's a great question. Thank you, Randy Smith, for the good luck. We have a good lead here, but I'm not sure how long that will last. I'd like to bring my rook back here, to be honest. If he wants to double up my pawns for another easy trade, I'm okay with that. Break cards with Ray. He's done it many times on his stream. Is that right? Does Ray DeVito have something in common with our show? That brings me a little concern. That Ray DeVito, I have a lot of... He's so curious to me. I don't know what you people online have done to him, but it's a sad situation. When I was with Ray DeVito in person, too, the whole time I just kept telling him, I said, you don't need to be involved in this. This is, let's figure something out for you. He would not listen. Thank you, Randy Smith. I appreciate that, and we're just working on creating quality shows in the future. That's really my only direction. When I met Carl Hamburger in July, we went out for breakfast before recording David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show. We stopped there. I met him. It was very nice, and we picked him up. He just jumped in the car, and that was the plan. We were going to go we were going to go get some breakfast and record David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, and we were talking there at the time about Actually, when we were at breakfast, we were talking a lot about the Censored.tv merger with Compound Media, which was a breaking subject. So that's what we kind of had breakfast and rapped about that subject a little bit. Oh, I lost my. I'm sorry, I've blacked out my screen here on the chat. But while we were having that breakfast there, he asked me. He said, "Don't be next." Oh, okay. Well, Stott Chunk, we'll see. I think, I might have a little more confidence in trying to create that into an audio-friendly subject, but I certainly understand the skepticism, and it's turning into a big lift, so I definitely understand that there. So we're having breakfast there with Carl Hamburger, and we're talking about the Censored.tv and Compound Media Lift, and Carl decided at one point during a moment of silence, he asked me, so what do you want to do? Do you just want to be a YouTuber or something like that? Which, of course, is not my intention at all. We try to stress the audio platforms. I have no intention of ever partnering on YouTube or anything like that. We don't want to go in that direction. And we have kind of plans of our own there. But he asked, what do you want to do? You want to be a big YouTuber? And I told him, my answer is we just want to try to create quality shows, and whatever that is. Some days I think I'd rather be a writer or something, but this is the position that we're in. And that was kind of the answer to that question. So, of course, we are just working on creating quality shows. There's some hiccups, and we're all learning what that looks like sometimes. And I'm gonna have those moments like we did today. But I think we're, generally speaking, always moving in a pretty positive direction. And it's good if we didn't take these swings. We wouldn't really know where the line was. Inspirations. Terry Clifford. I'm just kidding. She just retired, though. It was actually, I saw she was in a local ad there up in, where is it? That's Syracuse? I was following, somebody sent me a local advertisement that she was appearing in now that she's retired, so still working a little bit, but that was interesting. I'm not sure if I have any inspirations. Fred Arneson, and Bobby Moynihan. Those are probably my two biggest inspirations. As much of a lead as I have in this game, you think that it would be moving quicker. I need to just start pushing a pawn. I just need to start pushing a pawn. Or we could just trade rooks. That would be a way to go about it, too. Once we trade rooks, let's just start with pushing one of these two pawns here, and we'll work on it there. If he's going to spend all this time marching his king down the way. What could he possibly be doing over there? Hello, Sam Bibley. Sam Bibley is about to get his own segment on Drive Time David Collins. I'm going to hire a private investigator to follow Sam Bibley in all the other chat rooms around the internet. How do I get over to him? Yeah, I'll hire a private investigator to follow Sam Bibley around the internet, and then we'll just read his chat from other shows during our show. That'd be an interesting segment. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I'm very confused. I guess I need to get my rook on the back rank somehow. Aggressive is one way to put it. I think he's I'll tell you, Sam Bibley, between you and me, you do overwhelm Matt Ferry a little bit, but I promise I think you're respectful enough. Yeah, my personal opinion. Which way are you going to go, Mr. King? Master Shake is back. Ain't nobody want to call on Discord. Sam, we can talk about this Discord thing. I'm really willing to go into it with. People have been using Discord for so long at this point. It's in no way what it seems to. I don't know what this understanding of Discord is. It's not as if I'm saying, come talk to us on Mumble or something like that. Discord, as far as I understand, is used by many families during the holidays to play games online during virtual. I think during COVID it really picked up, and I'm not this strong opinion about Discord, and the inability to use it to call in is surprising to me, and I'm learning, and maybe I'll lose this argument here in the next couple of weeks, but for right now, I still feel pretty strongly about it. How many hot sauces could you run through on Hot Ones? Well, that depends. Are they actually real? It's my understanding that, it's not too accurate to... What is going... I don't know what is happening here. But I could do pretty well, I think. I'm a fan of hot sauces. This is the strangest game that I thought I had won a while ago, and it keeps going here. I have no pawns left pretty soon. I think I could do pretty good on the hot sauces, though. It depends what it's on. I'm not a fan of chicken. I don't eat a lot of chicken. Another game where I'm going to have to do a rook-king checkmate. This is 2 in a row here, but that's pretty good. We should be able to do this again, I think. I'll just have to march my king over there and get that rook-king checkmate. Maybe he'll resign first. Not a lot of people are confident about that. Being aggressive is kind of my whole thing. I know you can relate, although we do employ slightly different styles. You might be right. I'm a fan of that Sam Bibley. He's one of the only people I remember by name. All right, we'll just keep him on the 3rd rank here while we march our king over. On days like today, Sam Bibley, you'd be glad that you missed it. But I appreciate the support, of course. We're just trying to work on that process of creating good shows, and sometimes we miss. But I'm going to keep taking those shots, and we should have even better shows in the future that I'm really looking forward to. I was in the chat this morning. Oh, well, that's nice. What Guinness World Record do you think you can get? Oh, Guinness World Record's a marketing company, so that's kind of a different question, because Guinness, you can get whatever record that you decide that you want to get. You go out, you fill out a form for Guinness, and then they come to you and they say, for your company or for your individual goal, here's a record that closest meets that from a marketing standpoint. So Guinness is actually more of a marketing company itself. If you're just asking records in general, when I was in high school, we broke the record I drove a Toyota Prius at the time, and I would participated in breaking the record at the time for the most amount of people that we got into the Prius. We got 14 people into that Prius and closed all the doors, so that was a record that I participated in. I had a friend once. Oh, he didn't want to go through the bother here, I suppose. Oh, I played a pretty good game there, it seemed like. I had a friend once that broke the record for most times kicking himself in the head in under a minute, which is impressive at the time. I'm not sure. It's probably being more impressive now because of the flexibility. Well, that's impressive, Sam. That's a record I could not do. But I don't really do that too often, to be honest. But that's great. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We've made it to the end of the day here. I thought I'd greet people after the day of work there to to let you know. And I don't even want to make a thing out of it though, but I almost, as soon as the show ended today, I almost felt like I owed everybody an apology. I said, wow, did I drop the ball on that? And I'll still be thinking about it all day today. But I did get a lot done, and I did some laundry and things, and I'm feeling much better about the whole situation. It was just and to be honest, sometimes we finish an episode of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, and I say, wow, this is the worst thing I've ever done. I'll never recover from this. And, time moves on, and we try to create better shows in the future. So hopefully that's the same way today. Oh, sometimes a little too much Spurg Snake. That was a big issue with the show today. I have to kind of just let things ride a little bit, and I jump the gun on steering the ship when there's really no need. But yeah, there's something there, and I'm not really too worried about it there. And I just wanted to join you all and make sure that everybody kind of knew how I felt about it, and that life moves on. We sit here, we listen to a little Vivaldi, and we play some chess, and we interact with the chat. Maybe I'll just start doing these more in the afternoon too, just to kind of interact with everybody, because we do a pretty independent show there where I'm not interacting with any of the audience at any point during the shows. And so maybe this would be a better opportunity to kind of have that and interact with the people watching. You at home. I could do more of that, so we're kind of thinking about along those lines and what are the things we might want to do for the show and increasing our presence there, but also just increasing the quality of that Drive Time David Collins. And we do have some great things. And I think the senior grill instructor is one of the funniest things that a lot of people are creating and producing. Not a lot of people, I find, are doing original content like that. And we have original texts and original calls there that nobody's doing these days that we've kind of brought to that show. So one step at a time, and in the goal of creating original content there. It's more impressive to break a record. We stand on the shoulders of giants. I have a lot of opinions on records. Some I can't share. I have the record for a lot of crimes that are still within the statute of limitations. What that guy started to tell him stories about being a collector, that was good. Exactly, Sam Bibley, and I tried to pull out those stories the entire time. He was very to himself about a lot of that, and I really wanted to get some of that information out of him. He has a lot of great stories, unbelievably amount of great stories. For the next 2 hours after we stopped broadcasting, I listened to stories about him. He worked at one point with the real Walter White. He once waded water for over 5 hours waiting to be rescued in the middle of a lake at night. He had stories about going all around Illinois and doing very interesting things. And as soon as that recording turned off, boy, was he ready to share all those stories. It was just a misjudge by me. I put a little too much faith in him running the show, where I really should have been focused on running my own show. Well, Sam Bibley, it's great to have you on the team. Welcome to David Collins Nation. But that's all that was kind of going on today there. Really looking forward to next week's episodes of David Collins' 30-minute hour show and Drive Time David Collins. And hopefully I can make some progress on the reality show there. Of course, Jerry was doing most of that reality show work, and since we've lost him, we've lost a lot. But we'll get that back on track there and try to finish that series. It was supposed to be an 8-part series, and we only have half of it left. Although my laptop and all my backup storage would really appreciate if I got back to work on that reality show, since I think all of our reality show footage, I go out and I get all this footage and things. I think I have over 600 gigs of just reality show footage there. Uh-oh. I have a bit of a malfunction behind me. I need probably just 15 seconds, but there is something going on. As many of you know, and probably noticed, we record from a variety of different locations there. This is my, what you might call a crash pad here in an undisclosed location, and sometimes I'll do some recording from here also. But then in this location, it has some strange noises that need to be dealt with occasionally, so that's all that was going on there. I need to shave my mustache at some point today, or maybe tomorrow morning, because it is getting out of control. I would like to get on any of those Gas Digital shows at some point. And somebody asked earlier about a podcast, any of them at all. I'm just trying to get a connection there so we can get some of those guests. Many of the guests associated with those Gas Digital shows have refused to get back with me, and we've gotten a few of them, and we've tried to increase our name recognition in the area, but it's not going as well as I might have hoped about a year ago. So, but it's an interesting question. It's a thought-provoking question, so I appreciate you asking. I think we can go in here for an attack. Is the music at a good volume? You know, it's very difficult to judge from this perspective, but I'm getting better at it, especially given Drive Time David Collins. I get to watch all the levels and everything, and we're getting really a lot of that's improving. Boy, did this person fall for it. At least on stream, it's going to be nice. I think I'm going to get 3 wins in a row today on stream. Probably play another one too. This is the only way that I can tell myself that it's worth playing chess. You know, I have things I need to edit. I have things I need to write. I have shows I need to think about. Not to mention different things in my personal life here that need to be dealt with on a regular basis. So it's nice to have an opportunity here to play some chess. Oh, I lost again. Sometimes I need to refresh the chat, apparently. Oh, was that an AMA, Sam Bibley? I think that's kind of the idea of these live streams too. You know, it gives people an interact. Like I said, it don't get that opportunity to kind of interact with a lot of you people. So this is that opportunity. Well, the Cleveland guest this week is going to be virtual. To win over Matt Ferry, Sam Bibley? Oh, say something nice to him. He'll really appreciate it. Have I ever Googled? David Collins is a very common name. If you Google it, you find a lot of things. Of course, I Google myself every month. Are you supposed to deny that? I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. There are much better moves than what I'm thinking. Once I get a lead, I just get very scared, and I don't want to ruin it. Why don't we just start trading pieces? That should work. So, if it's within a few hours, 3 or 4 hours, I'm always very open to just driving to the guest, and it's always much better to get something in person. Everybody prefers that, especially myself. We were supposed to have Tom Garland, for instance, in person, and the day of, he said, actually, I have a new puppy. I don't want you to come over here because the puppy's going to be, but I'll just do it virtually. And thank God we did, because maybe he would have kicked us out or something. He really took everything so negatively, and it turned into a disaster. If we were in person, I don't know how mad he would have gotten it, or if things would have worked out. I feel like in person, everything kind of works better, though. And I really prefer it to be that way. Unfortunately, that's pretty difficult, especially when we're always trying to get these national guests and things. So, but in person is always certainly ideal. No, Sam Bibley, but I got your article. Somebody sent that to me in an email. So they said, this is what Sam Bibley was referring to. I said, thank you. Am I supposed to try to save my knight, or do I just... Well, I should try to take a piece with it or something. How many telephone numbers do you have memorized? I could rattle off 3. I wonder if I could rattle off a 4th. I could do the 1743, I can do an 8952, I can do a 4881, and I can do a It's a good question. Oh, an 0927. That's pretty good. I think 4 phone numbers is pretty impressive. I wouldn't give the full phone number on air, though, but the last 4 there just to prove that I have them in my head. I've got both the poem and the revised poem, in fact. I already have a lead. I don't want to throw this away. Hello, Tiger Lily. Here playing chess and talking a little about Drive Time David Collins this morning. I think having 4 phone numbers is a pretty good accomplishment these days. You know, I just have a flip phone there, and I actually used to have a really bad habit of not adding anybody's phone in my contacts. I would just text a bunch of random numbers in my contacts there, so. And have no numbers actually in my contacts, I mean. I don't know what this person's doing. This is about the point that I get really nervous in a game of chess, because I'm just going to start throwing away my lead. I don't have any of my pieces out. I somehow have a point lead here. I need to get all of these pieces out. The OG poem or the revised one? Sam, I thought the OG poem was more impromptu. I like improvisation and a good impression. Happy Hump Day, everyone. That's exactly right. Happy Wednesday, and that's why I'm here. I wanted to talk a little about Drive Time David Collins, which we've mentioned about there. Answer any questions from the chat. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't really get a lot of opportunity to do this because we do mostly a pre-recorded show, generally speaking, and whatnot there. And I get to join everybody on their way back from work today. We talked at the beginning of the day, and now we get to talk at the end of the day today. Well, Sam, I appreciate you staying creative, and I want to encourage you to continue doing so. I just need to get my second rook. My big advantage in this game, of course, is the fact that I have these 2 rooks because I won one earlier. So we need to start figuring out a way to utilize that advantage, which first involves me getting this knight out of the way. Excuse me, I'm burping. Well, that's very nice, Sam Billy, and I'm happy to encourage you there. I joked to somebody the other day. Somebody told me "good job," and I said, "Wow, that was very nice. I haven't heard that." You know, you don't sometimes, which is fine. You know, I don't need that type of validation constantly. But it was pretty. I heard that. I said, "Wow, that was pretty nice. Nice to hear." I don't know what he's going to do with his knight here. What's the point of you going there? We're just going to castle and get our rooks straightened out over at the far rung there and see what we can get going. Merch Mouse. And I appreciate that being your perspective this morning, and maybe I was working a little too hard trying to pull things out of him that he wasn't ready to share, although he shared them all as soon as we were on another show for the next hour, which I'll be sharing in our community tab there, Pod 4 Productions, we recorded a straight interview with Robert Wallace where I just kind of sit in as the second mic, and Matt Ferry does his show there, and it was a fine show, and it was great to hear all those things from Robert Wallace, but I was having a lot of difficulty kind of pulling some of those fun stories out of him first thing in the morning here, unfortunately, but that's not a problem. We had a good time, and I'm kind of over all of the negative feelings that I had about that production, and I'm just trying to look forward onto what's next. But I don't think it was a nightmare there, and we're looking forward to the future. Certainly had worse episodes of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, and I probably will have worse of both of them in the future. But next week is going to be a great show, and we can count on that. Both David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show and Drive Time David Collins. Post 4 Productions, that's exactly right. Well, last week we talked to Austin Ingalls, and this week we talked with Robert Wallace, and it's really Matt Ferry's production. I've just been had the opportunity to kind of sit in the last couple of weeks, which I've really enjoyed. Oh, he's looking for this. What's the best nickname of someone you know? The best nickname of somebody I know. Skis. A man we used to call one guy Fiend, and he didn't like that. Or a Skis. I don't know. These are the best nickname. Oh, these are the worst nicknames of someone you know. I don't know. That's a tough thing. Nobody's ever really had a nickname. You know, when I was going to elementary school, there were 2 Davids in the school, so people would just call me by my middle name, Michael. And that was a bit of a nickname, but besides that, I don't really live in the world of nicknames. I'm not really too sure. Working on plans for a puppet that will be at least several times the size and strength of Tukey. Well, that's pretty good. I once met a pretty great puppet maker myself. It was really interesting. He was a bit of a quirky guy, kind of reminded me of Robert Sidney Wallace, in fact. But I was taking a sketch writing class with Sam Brown of The Whitest Kids You Know. I was taking a sketch writing class with him, and it was very informative, and I really think I learned a lot that I remember that. But there was one person in the class that all of his sketches involved a puppet so that he could read it as the puppet that he had in his workshop there with his laptop and things. Oh, is that right? That is, you know, I've actually reached out to him. I thought that Mike David Redbar would have been a great guest on the show, and we've talked about this on David Collins' 30-minute hour show. But I reached out to him and said, "Oh, you know, and he actually responded, and he said, actually, the only show I do is that Redbar show." And I said, "Well, that's a nice response." But he was somebody that was nice enough to give a kind response when we reached out to having him on the show, so that's always good. I'm not sure what he's trying to get done here with this knight situation. I think I want to keep my rook on this file. Is he nice? Have you met him? Actually, on the subject of Mike David Redbar, when we had Tom Garland on the show, David Collins' 30-minute hour show, we had Tom Garland infamously wasn't very happy with the show afterwards, and other people have kind of talked about this, and we've talked it into the ground, to be honest about it. But he was on the show, and Tom Garland in 2012 and 2014 made appearances on Red Bar Radio, where he did the show Red Bar. He has 2. You can find it on his IMDb, and you can still find those episodes online somewhere. I remember Jerry sending them to me. And when we asked Tom Garland about his appearances on that Red Bar show on David Collins' 30 Minute Hour show, he actually said, he said, "Oh, Mike was the nicest guy he's ever been to me. He was a great guy. He was so good to me," which is surprising. I said, "Wow, for somebody that has such a reputation for tarnishing comedy or ripping on people, Tom Garland, somebody who was very defensive about the world of comedy, actually really enjoyed him and really said that he owed a lot to him." So that was kind of interesting to hear. Four different shows under the same name, like The Walking Dead. Interesting. Boy, this guy's taking a long time with his moves here. I thought this game was settled a long time ago. Apparently, it's still going on. Here we go. This is the move that I was looking for. Oh, you know what's so funny? He's almost got me in a very tricky situation here. But we might have him in mate. We're going to be looking for a checkmate here. He's got me in a bit of a tricky situation. Nothing that we can't really get out of easily, but I think we're going to be looking at a checkmate. And then we go here, and then we move our other rook, and then we move the same rook down a file, and it's protected by the knight. And we have another checkmate. Have I heard from Jerry lately? And there's another mate, everybody. That's 3 wins in a row on stream. Well, we've done a good job turning this day around. I don't know, Jerry hasn't really reached out to me there, hence why I'm here and not recording in his basement, but we've kind of separated there, and he has a wife and a child, so he's very busy. Jerry was in the chat this morning. That'd be interesting. We did play a sketch that involved Jerry a couple weeks ago on Drive Time with David Collins, the one with Austin Ingalls. What's the best nickname that I've ever heard? I don't know. I can't think of anything that's not derogatory. All right, well, we've gotten a few wins in a row here, so pretty good chance that we get demolished on our next... What best sitcom for you think you could have played? That's a good question. Character for a sitcom? Well, the funny answer, I think, would be Turk from Scrubs, but... Or not funny, I'm not sure. Maybe I missed the mark on that, but... I can't really think of that. I love a sitcom, though. Maybe Greg from Dharma and Greg. I think Greg from Dharma and Greg. That would fit me pretty well. You guys remember the lyrics for Dharma and Greg's theme song? Not a lot of people do. It's because there were no lyrics. It was just a musical intro. Well, this is an interesting... There were lyrics. I remember them. They came during the closing credits. All right, well, I've been out Dharma and Gregged. Not a lot of people can say that. Pretty much, I like to consider myself a bit of an expert on Dharma and Greg, in fact. Well, this was a waste. At least now I can castle. This is going to be a little bit of a more difficult game, I assume. I hadn't already gotten him with one of my tricks at the beginning here. And I've won 3 games in a row, so chess.com should start giving me some people that have a better chance. Well, I haven't heard from the Ray DeVito in a while. Maybe I should call him tomorrow. Make sure he's doing okay. I like to keep up with a lot of the previous guests of David Collins' 30-minute hour show. I think a lot of people are kind of surprised to hear that, but I reach out to them, say, hey, I'm thinking of you today. I hope you're doing well. And sometimes they reply with a, that's nice, thank you, and then I don't even say anything back, and sometimes they don't say anything back at all. But I like to keep up there. Ray DeVito is somebody that always does get back to me, though. Sometimes he even calls me out of the blue, which is nice. Nice enough. I'll tell you one person that doesn't call me. I'm just joking. Well, I'm not sure what to do here. I understand it's my move. I'm just so stuck on what I'm supposed to be doing here. What am I supposed to be... I guess he hasn't even castled yet, so I shouldn't really be picking a side to invest in. Maybe we could just break this up a little. Dylan didn't call because he is a rotary phone guy like me. I have a flip phone. Oh, jeez. I have a text, too. But I have a flip phone. I'm able to do everything. I run the show through a laptop and things. You can certainly find a way around, even with a rotary phone. It sounds a little extreme. I'm not sure even... Am I supposed to believe that? Is that true? I need to figure out what I'm going to do. He's going to start moving. He's going to move that pawn down to b5 here. He's going to move this down here, and then I have a real decision to make. I'm getting a phone call right now. All right, you have a great day too. Thanks so much. Oh, well, he was Indian. Perfect. Well, excuse me, I apologize for the phone call, but apparently it was good that I answered. Anyway. It's a tricky situation. I suppose this is the natural move here. But I know what this sets me up for in the future, and I don't like it. What classic game show would you like to be on? Chain Reaction. In fact, I'd like to host Chain Reaction one day. I think that would be my dream job. Oh, I need to shave my mustache so much. It is just tickling my face this entire broadcast. I know what you're doing. I know you're up a pawn, but... Yeah, you'll take it with the bishop, and then we have an odd thing happening. Need a stash comb. I've never used one of those. Press Your Luck would be a great one. Is anybody watching the new Press Your Luck there with the woman and then the final rounds? I've really been enjoying the new Press Your Luck this last couple of years. Boy, am I frustrated by this match up here. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm so thrown for what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm at a loss here. All right, well, we can try this. That was a misclick. I just wanted to put it right here. Just wanted to put it right there. So that was Well, I guess we'll just listen to Dan then. What's the best chain restaurant? Adobo's. I visit Adobo's once or twice a week. It's my favorite. It's like Chipotle, except it's cheaper. It's very nice. Adobo's. I'd recommend it to everybody. Well, this game is a real big loss now. I have no ideas. I have no ideas here, so Adobo's is the best. Adobo's is a Mexican chain restaurant. I like there and get nachos. I'm such a regular, too, and I always give them a couple dollars as a tip, too. They always give me a nice hookup there, so I appreciate that at Adobo's. Has that been open the whole time? Oh, no, he's right. It might not have been the worst sacrifice. We should still have a good chance to win there if he doesn't really mobilize all of his pieces. And then now his king's protected. We're going to have some issues. There's no Adobo's in Boston. Stone. I was in Boston last July there with Delicious. We could just watch the recap of the Boston trip too, if anybody wanted to see that, to be honest. I would just pull that up here and I'd show the visual recap. It's 25 minutes or something. It's me and Delicious talking in the hotel room, and then you get to see the visual recap of the show as we're talking about the Boston trip. A lot of that's going to be included in the reality show there, but we haven't really figured out. I haven't really written that out at this point. I'm half tempted to just, I'll grab another Rolling Rock here and we'll just pop on the visual recap of the Boston trip and play some of that. The only Adobo's is in Iowa. There's one in Illinois. A lot of the best nationwide chains originated in Boston. Is that true? I've never heard that before. And that's not just I hope that's not a joke about slavery, Sam Bibley. What an insane joke to make. Boston Beanery, Boston Donuts, Boston Pizza Hut, Subway of Boston, Hooters. Oh, I had no idea. I don't know what his plan is here. Well, I guess that works as a plan. Oh, well, he has checkmate. Right. Yeah, I fumbled checkmate there. Well, Sam Bibley, if I'm being completely honest, that's never happened to me. I've never had that experience. I've always been on the opposite side of things, so I've never actually anything too terrible in that type of context. Never had to deal with that. You might say I'm very lucky. We'll see, though. Let's go into, well, it's been about 90 minutes here. Oh, wow, yeah, I've been streaming for a while. Is there any interest in seeing some of that Boston coverage? Since we got on the subject of Boston there, I could even talk a little about this Delicious, because it's kind of interesting. Of course, I met Delicious. Why don't I pull it up for a visual? I met Delicious there a couple years ago now. It was right before I started David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show. It might have been that same month, in fact. Oh, please play. Perfect. Let's go into Drive Time David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show here. Or none of these, actually. It's just the... Oh, what am I going to possibly show if I show this? All right, well, let's take a gamble. What am I seeing here? You see behind the scenes here on the managing video content. This is a little risky, but I think it's going to be okay. And the visual recap of the Boston trip. So we'll get pull this up first here. So that was Delicious here. So we see him in the shadows. So Delicious I met a couple years ago, right before we started David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show around. I had just been stumbling around. I'm a bit of a barfly, some might say, especially before I got back into the show. Just spending time in Iowa after the firing and everything. I was just trying to enjoy myself, and maybe I had developed some bad habits as a bit of a barfly, but I happened to stumble through the Gold Room there in Galena, Illinois, and I saw a flyer for a stand-up comedy show, and I said, oh, that's interesting. I thought I was familiar with all of the stand-up comedians in the area. It was just kind of... There, we'll bring that to the default view. That way that shows a little more. So... But I thought I knew all the stand-up comedians. So I go in there and they say, oh, you're interested in that stand-up open mic that's going to be coming this week? You need to talk with Jeff. So Jeff brings me a comedy flyer that says, hosted by Delicious. I say, oh, I haven't met this Delicious. That's going to be interesting there. Turns out Delicious and Jeff are one of the same. So that was kind of interesting to hear. But it was good. It was nice that he was starting a comedy show in that area of Galena, Illinois, where there were no comedy shows at the time. And I said, that's great. I know a handful of comedians. So that Wednesday, I brought 7 comedians to that comedy show, his open mic, and made it a half success there. And that was great to hear. Going forward, we made sure that we were letting Delicious know about all the things that were happening comedy-wise in the Eastern Iowa area, and got him kind of ingratiated into that world there. Things turned when he became production managers of the Jester's Lounge, you might say. But that's kind of the background of Delicious. Somebody that did a little camera work for me and some of the streeties that we did, and did some stunt boy work for us for the radio show, but also back in July came with me to Boston for the Boston trip there. My methods for avoiding heartbreak? Well, I'm going to be a little vulgar here, everybody. But take note here. Try not to be too horny. That's really the best advice that I could give you. Maybe take a chill pill sometimes, and you'll be okay. That's what I think. But otherwise, or just, be confident in the people that you mess around with and know where you stand. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I have any good advice there. I'd have to think about it. Maybe I'm just lucky, like I said. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Oh, are we talking BRD? Speaking of the Jester's Lounge here, never trust somebody who gives themselves a nickname. Well, that's a good point. Maybe the best nickname I've ever heard somebody have is actually Delicious, like we talked about earlier. So we could pause this music here if we just wanted to take a little look, and I'll be here to guide you through the visual Oh, where am I? Hello, everybody. There we go. That way I'm still here, but I can kind of guide you through the visual recap of the Boston trip. I could full screen it, but that's going to... Oh, you know what I could do here? Stand by. Oh, I'm doing some... you can't see what I'm doing there, given the nature of moving a screen around. I guess you kind of can't see what's happening here. Boo, I'm here. I'll make myself small. Oh, that's a different thing. I just did the window capture. I want that big. And I want me to be smaller. And then we full screen this. Boom, look at that. I know how to do this. So, this is some of the Boston trip there. It's a visual recap. So it's us talking about it, and then maybe I can turn this up a little bit.
I like to sing in the shower, so it's, works for me.
Well, that's good.
And the neighbors.
Since we're talking about the subject of Boston there, maybe we'll talk a little about the Boston trip while I'm live.
Most definitely.
A lot of this is going to make it to the reality show, but some of it won't. It's a different
They probably
context.
thought, wow, we have some pretty cool neighbors.
Yeah. Great voices. They must be famous. Someone thought I was Adam Levine.
That's right, Spurg. I primarily use...
Yeah, that was a first.
Maroon 5's.
Yep. Is that what he does? Maroon 5?
Move your box down. The voice?
The voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you
that
like
was a
me
first
here?
for me.
Is
I
this what you
typically
prefer?
get
There's
Josh
some more
Momoa,
advice, Sam Bibley.
Aquaman.
Ask.
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
I'm
yeah,
sure nobody's ever called you that.
Yep. I think it's the tattoos.
Right. Well, there's nothing about him that sings Italian or Mohawk. I really don't see the comparison.
The muscles, or
Your
Anybody
nose
missed
is
that
much
delicious-
bigger than his.
Okay.
Said he gets mixed up.
Okay.
He's probably
Jason
taller
Momoa.
than you.
yeah, probably smarter and
Anyway.
prettier. Okay.
So we're here in Boston, of course.
Boston. Carl Hamburger, man, awesome car.
We went to see Carl that trip.
Yeah, Carl was unbelievably pleasant to us. So that's the beginning of the trip. Why don't we start from the start there? So we get the rental car in Iowa, and I go up, pick up Delicious there at about 5 p.m. on a Tuesday.
This is through Chicago.
And then we drive 12 hours to Rochester, New York. We have
This
to
is
drive
Cleveland.
through Chicago, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and finally we land in Rochester, New York there. We get there about 7 a.m., and we just hang out outside the Staples parking lot
Oh, that's good.
until they open so
people
I can
love
print my
communication.
outline for
I'm a
the
big fan of
episode.
communication.
Then we meet up with Carl at about 8:15. Did you have a good time in that Staples parking lot?
Oh yeah, I won $20.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We have a New York lottery
just
ticket
let this
winner
play for
here.
a second.
It's
I need to
very
run to the
impressive.
fridge.
Also in that parking lot, there was I think we witnessed some Facebook Marketplace exchange. It was
Yes.
interesting. There were
Yes.
many disabled people that work at the Staples, apparently.
Yep.
So that was kind of odd to see them opening the store. And then we made our way over to Carl Hamburger and his house.
Carl Hamburger, man, very hospitable. Dug it.
That's exactly right. You know, it's worth mentioning. He even paid for breakfast, which is very
Yeah,
kind.
yeah.
I was ready to hand her my card. I said, "Put it all on one ticket," and I was ready. And he was way ahead of. He couldn't have been faster
Yeah.
about it,
He was eager.
which is funny.
Isn't that nice about Carl? He paid the whole bill.
Recently, he was even saying how all people these days, they want to Venmo you right away. They want to split the bill. He's a big fan, actually, of credit card roulette.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever play credit card roulette?
I have not.
What'd you order there? Actually, this was pretty funny. He ordered the same thing as Carl Hamburger at breakfast.
So for the record, if that says anything about a person, they ordered the same thing at breakfast. I just want to make that clear.
His toast.
Right. And I just got an American cheese
Might be a
omelet. It was
little
very good.
embarrassing.
So we went over to Carl Hamburger's there in his house and got to see his studio. It's actually in his basement.
Yeah, nice
Which is great.
studio.
He's got a
too.
nice pool
Yeah.
table there.
Did you guys like that pan? Do you guys like that pan? I don't think a lot of people get to see this perspective, which is pretty fascinating to see there. Unfortunately, Sam, he didn't say anything about you, I'll be honest.
Taste. Mine is his toast.
Right. And I just got an American cheese omelet. It was very good. So we went over to Carl Hamburger's there in his house and got to see his studio. It's actually in his basement.
Yeah, nice
which is great.
studio.
He's got
too.
a nice pool table there. It doesn't have purple felt or anything, but it's great that.
I'm telling you, while I'm doing this right now, I realize, we put all this behind the scenes on David Collins 30-minute half-hour show Patreon. Also, a quick shout out. I have a Cameo now, and I'd love to get people purchasing Cameo. The holiday season is coming up, so we'd like to get into that. But Spurg, I'm a big fan. If you watch David Collins 30-minute half-hour show, you'll see I do play a lot of pool. I'm a pretty nasty pool player, some might say. It depends on the day, of course. But I'm a big fan of the game. I've only been playing for the last 2 or 3 years now, but I really enjoy the game. But I'm realizing on David Collins 30-minute half-hour show Patreon, we've all this behind-the-scenes footage and things like this. This is on the Patreon, David Collins 30-minute half-hour show Patreon. But maybe a lot of people would like to start seeing those things. I'll jump on a live stream and show some of those videos that way. That might be a good idea, just to let people know this is kind of what's on there.
That he has a pool table. It's even a little larger than a traditional bar table, which is great. I wish I would have had the opportunity to play on it, but we were in a bit of a rush to get out of there.
That was pretty cool, man. Yeah, very nice of him. A lot of cool artwork.
He, of course, does David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show. We knock out that
guest.
episode. It sounded like he had a fine time. Following that show, we're having a little chat, and we're talking about WATP because we're about to record that, and Carl says, Delicious, do you want to come on Who Are These Podcasts with us?
Yeah, that was fun,
And
man.
Delicious looks at me and says, is that okay? I say, of course. Just don't, say anything derogatory about me, and it'll be perfectly fine. It'd be great to have him on. He's a great guy, and he gets to talk about the new comedy club in Dubuque, Iowa there, the Jester's Lounge.
Yeah.
And that was
The now defunct Jester's Lounge. And if you've heard that on Drive Time David Collins, that will just end that note there, bookend a little bit, so you kind of make sure you're still following.
Yeah, that was nice of Carl. Let me plug that and stuff.
Oh,
too.
of course. Yeah, he really gave you a good opportunity
Appreciate
there,
it.
which was great. But I want to talk about, what was your experience there on WATP? Have you ever done a podcast like
No,
that?
I've never done a podcast before, man. And that was a lot of fun.
It's a fairly
Yeah,
big show. It's above
yeah.
average.
Nice.
Which is so funny to me. It actually makes. I can't tell you how often I giggled about the idea of Delicious appearing on WATP and not having any relationship to the show and just being there, and he made a real impression on Carl because he, of course, was the production manager and he was booking this comedy club, and Carl mentioned Mark Norman, and Delicious had never heard the name Mark Norman, and he's booking a comedy club, and so Carl went, and he jumped that on me on live on air next time I was on his show, and he said, oh yeah, your guy running the club doesn't even know the name Mark Norman. I said, well, don't put me in a position where I have to defend this Delicious fella, but it was a little uncomfortable anyway.
Nice.
Viewership?
All right. Well, cool.
Was there any pressure there? Were you nervous?
No, not at all.
No, we were
It
a
was
little
lot of
sleep
fun.
deprived.
Yeah.
You looked like you were having a lot of fun.
I was. Carl kept it.
What do you think of Joe
kept it
Matarese?
upbeat. Oh, man. You know,
Beautiful New York State drive.
Very
Hills of
eager
New York.
fellow to, I don't know. I don't want to say anything too mean because I don't know the fellow, but he was trying.
Oh, he's the nicest guy you'd ever meet there.
yeah.
So we do WATP. That was great. I'm sure at this point.
Joe Matarese is also somebody that always returns my texts or my nice messages. He really, nice guy, Joe Matarese.
Anybody who's going to see that would have seen that or heard it on the episode there.
Right.
Plans have changed. Initially, our plan was to leave Rochester, go to Boston, spend a few days in Boston, and then
Yep.
we were going to go see some people in New York City and New Jersey. The people that I wanted to see in New Jersey are in D.C. right now. So
Yeah.
it's just a bad week,
Jameson
unfortunately.
Cox.
But I had also promised Ray DeVito that while going through New York City, I would stop and see him. Coincidentally, he's also in the city right now. I'm looking through
Is
my
that what-
phone.
is
What
that
an
what this
interesting
is?
list of calls here. I have calls to Jamaica Plains.
Oh, I
I
like
have
this
calls
moment.
to Carl of WATP. It's what a week here.
Oh, Jamaica Plains. Yeah, we'll get there.
It's about
Well, take note, of course, this was July. This is our trip to Boston, the 4th of July weekend. So this is before we had Ray DeVito on the show.
You've reached Ray DeVito. Please leave a message, and I will call you back. Thanks.
Hello, Ray DeVito. I'm just giving you a call there because we had talked about me running into you tomorrow on a Saturday. Unfortunately, that will not be happening because our schedules have changed and we'll be going to Pennsylvania tomorrow instead of New Jersey. Just wanted to give you a call there. No need to call me back. Have a great time in New York City. We've made alternate plans there. So we leave Carl's there. It was great to talk about Joe Matarese on WATP. We get out back on the road about 11:15 a.m. Give you an idea of how quickly everything's moving here. Well, we're at a standstill, so I guess that means we're getting close to Boston. And thank goodness we made it on the road at about 11:15 a.m.
Yeah,
because we
perfect
really
timing.
beat a lot of traffic. We had about a 6-hour trip then from there to Boston, and it probably could have been an easy 7.
Ray DeVito was very kind to me, and I would have liked to try to get him out of whatever mess of a world that he lives in there. Unfortunately, he did not listen to anything I had to say, and is continuing, but I'm not sure. Is he still... He's probably still being kind of ridiculed online. I had a plan of action for him, and he didn't want to listen to me. Also, let me pause this here for a moment. I have something to say about this Ray DeVito, and we have that on the Patreon too, and we played a little bit of it on a previous show, I believe. But Ray DeVito waited until we turned on all the cameras and all the microphones and everything to start telling us things that he wanted to make sure wasn't on air. And I'm not really sure what that was about, but he's a strange fella. I'm not really sure, but he's sympathetic at the very least. I've been told you shouldn't, by some pretty, I like to consider a friend at this point, but he tells me, he said, I used to think that of a Ray DeVito. You really can't interact with him, but my hopes are still high. I'm optimistic, but we'll see. It's not like we talk every day.
Well, I guess no matter what, it's just a little sad that we don't get to see some of the scenery throughout the drive. Until we got to New York, we got to see the hills of northern New York State, which is pretty nice. But throughout Ohio and Pennsylvania and Idaho, Indiana.
I was pretty sad we didn't get to see Niagara Falls. We got to see the sign, though. We were 30 minutes from it, I swear.
Right.
Yeah.
You could have
Sam Bibley, the advice that I gave him is that it's completely his choice if he wants to interact with. He considers all of his problems a result of being within what he calls the Dabbleverse. I said, well, that's completely within your prerogative, but his income is tied to being related to what he calls the Dabbleverse. And if he's not willing to break that, then he's going to be a little SOL for getting out of that. But I gave him, opportunities. I had show ideas and things to try to get him involved, and he wanted no part to play.
in. She says, "Are you sure?" And I pull up my text. I says, "Is this Omni Park House?" And she says, "No."
No.
I say, "Oh, well, have a great day." So we make our way across town again and make our way to here.
Boston trip.
And are pretty shocked by the stark difference in what we're running into from a nice city area with open streets and a nice valet and parking area to move our car into the hotel.
Also, not to keep interrupting this, but on the Ray DeVito thing, he I think he's just being taken for a run by a few lawyers. He's a guy that really is just getting taken advantage of by a lot of people and won't listen to people that aren't trying to take advantage of him. It's a little strange.
In a parking garage.
That's all I
we
really have to say
found
on
ourselves deep in a downtown area surrounded by tourists and putting our car in an alleyway to go get a valet to bring it out of there and
Here's
find a
our
parking
hotel.
garage for us. So a much different experience, but we made it to this hotel. It's a nice hotel. It's an old-fashioned hotel, so we need to talk a little about the ghosts that are around here and working the venue.
Yes, very creepy hotel.
I'm not sure when I first noticed it. It must have been right at the door when they were talking about whether or not, I'm not even sure, so I walk in because I'm just trying to figure out where's the parking garage. Are we going to get a valet? What exactly is the situation?
Yeah.
I'm going to go get the keys right away. I manage that. And then
Oh, well, I'll tell you, Stone, we just got the valet, and I left the car in the parking garage for the most of the time that we were there. I didn't really want to worry about it, but we walked around, we probably walked 7+ miles every day.
exactly is the situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get the keys right away. I
walker.
manage that. And then there's a man, Richie, who's helping us with our bags and getting everything. And there's just something very off and very skeletal about pretty much everybody that seems to be working here.
Right.
We get in there, and there's somebody else who's handling the bags that go to the elevator to bring up to the room. And he also, it's just a very Hotel California vibe here. Even the next morning, well, we went to an open mic. We'll get to that in a minute. But even the next morning, I go down to get breakfast. Contrary to the booking amenities that I read, there is no breakfast here, unfortunately. So that was a bit of an up in it. But I walk over to, and they do have a restaurant downstairs, though, but it wasn't a complimentary breakfast. But I walk up to the woman working there at the podium, and I'm about to ask, "Hey, where's the breakfast?" And she just says, "Table for one," with a big grin on her face. And I say, "No, I'm just wondering where's breakfast." And she said, "Is there a complimentary breakfast?" She says, "No, but we have breakfast here. We do a la carte." And just a big smile on her face. And then she says, "Table for one?"
Very uncomfortable.
I was very uncomfortable. I said, no, thank you. And then I went back up to my room, and I didn't really know how to feel about it.
Their slow head movements, when you ask them stuff, they turn funny.
So I get back to my room. I drink 4 Tall Boy Miller High Lifes.
Cheers.
And then Delicious wakes up at about 11 a.m., and we get back on we go see the city.
Yeah.
I know how to vacation.
We walked pretty far.
We did. We walked over.
I just say that because I'm thinking of the blisters on my feet because I had to put beauty before comfort yesterday when we were walking out the door.
Right.
Yeah.
No socks.
Well, for those who don't know, I don't, not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
he wears glitter in his hair. He likes beauty.
And no socks. Had some fly.
Delicious No Socks
had
Willis.
some fly leopard print Vans on that I thought I can rock for 7 miles, but what can you do?
And I did the same. We left the hotel there, and there was a piece of plastic in my shoe that I choose to ignore,
Yes.
and it was just right in between my big toe and my next toe. And we walked around for a few hours, went over to the Harbor District, and we saw some fancy restaurants. Actually, what we saw later, where we saw the Wang Theater.
Hey, Delicious, look. It's the Wang Theater.
Said Wang.
That's the really fancy area
Yes,
John was telling
yes.
me. Actually, I met up with my cousin today. We're a little off track here, but we went to the Harbor District and saw the ocean yesterday. Didn't make it to the beach, but we saw these fancy restaurants in these fancy areas, and
Maybe we'll make
And
it
the
to the beach
piers.
today. Yeah,
yeah, we could.
possibly. Yeah.
So I get back and I take off my shoes and I realize, it was a piece of plastic there. So I'm also dealing with a large blister on my foot. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot of walking, a lot of walking around Boston.
I am waiting for to walk out my door here and turn and see twins standing at the end of the hallway, or blood
a dead
flowing
body
from
we
the
saw.
elevators.
It's an old-fashioned space here.
Or
We'll go back to the
here.
dead body here that we captured.
And turn and see twins standing at the end of the hallway, or blood flowing from the elevators.
It's an old-fashioned space here. We're going to get some good footage of it, I think. I have to remember that. I did get some footage of the upstairs, but the ballroom was locked, unfortunately.
Do you think we can go out and do some ghost hunting tonight throughout the hotel?
Oh, are you going to go ask for some water bottles? I think that's sufficient enough. Or are you going to say, valet, could you get my car? Oh, I caught you. You're a ghost.
Yeah. That's about. Yeah, they all work here. I think they're paid. Yeah.
A few decades.
Do ghosts get paid?
It does seem like the people working here are also paid actors. It's very strange the way that they operate, in my opinion.
It was very odd walking into our room with the cleaning lady, and it's like we almost she was just cleaning, making beds, but we interrupted her and she just stopped and took off.
Well, I was insisting that she left. You were saying,
Yeah.
go ahead, and I was saying,
I'm
no,
like,
you
yeah,
can.
yeah,
We don't
make
need
the-
this.
I'm like, go
I said,
ahead.
I
You're
walked in. I
enjoying
said,
it.
wasn't the sign up? And he said, no, I removed the sign. Well, that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because they were already past they were farther down.
You say that, but I swear while I was saying that, I was looking at the door. There was a sign there.
Yeah, there
You said
was.
I removed the sign,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
there was a sign there.
yeah.
Did it say cleaning?
No, so it actually just says come back in 5.
Oh,
Yeah, which is weird. Normally it'll
It's very
say do not disturb or
Right.
Yeah.
The
well, maybe
neon
they were tired
ladies
of people
and-
going to the lobby and say, hey, could you give me a...
Yeah, I actually talked to my cousin about that. He said we were walking down a block, and he said, less than 10 years ago, this was all strip clubs. And I said, really? He said, yeah, it was a much more seedier area, and now it's got the Fremont. I think it was the Fremont Theater and things like that. He kind of described some of that
sign to put on my doorknob that doesn't give people the impression I'm currently having sex.
Correct.
This is our trip to Boston, where we visited Carl Hamburger and the city of Boston this July.
Correct.
5 more minutes.
That's all they need is 5 minutes. Nice one, David. Bam.
We've been really bonding up here.
For nothing, apparently.
Bombing in Boston.
Right. So we
Here
had an
comes
open
the
mic
stand-up.
Wednesday night when we first
Speaking
get into
of.
Boston. We go to a place called the Middle East. It's in Cambridge. What we're learning is that the open mic scene here leaves a lot to be desired. Didn't I say that yesterday on the Instagram?
Yes. Yep.
That's exactly right. Even the people there admitted we probably don't have a strong open mic culture because there are no open mics around this city. Maybe on the 4th, we could have gone down to Jamaica Plains, but it would have been a 2-hour walk or a much longer drive
Yep.
given the traffic, I'm sure, with the fireworks display and everything. But we were able to find the one open mic on Wednesday that wouldn't involve us driving an hour and a half to Springfield.
This reminded me, I was going to say, here's the comedy, but that reminds me, I'm working on a new impression. We mentioned Mark Normand earlier, too. I forgot what was the subject there. Oh, on Delicious there, about this trip, actually. But I have a new impression. It's Mark Normand as a scientist. Gravity. That was my impression.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
And that was in Cambridge. The Middle East is the venue. We walk in there, we meet Josh Day.
Josh Day, yeah.
The host.
Yeah, nice guy.
It was very nice.
Yep.
And you never know, you walk in there, you see a 7-foot man with ponytails, and you
Yes.
say,
Pigtails.
what have I gotten myself into? Mm-hmm. But he was very nice, and he made sure that we were on the show and had a good time. Unfortunately, right before we got on stage, it seemed
that bridge is measured in smoots. He says that's the Longfellow Bridge. Not a lot of people know this, of course. Paul Revere wasn't the only person on a horseback. He wasn't the only courier warning people about the British coming. Many people were, but not many, and none of them well known, unless you're in Boston. Everybody in Boston seems to know this. It's a real local story, of course, but there's a whole bridge over to Longfellow, who is another rider going around saying how the British were coming. And that bridge, the Longfellow Bridge, apparently measured in smoots, an official measurement on Google Maps.
all the audience had left. It seemed the comic before us and 2 comics before us, about 30 people left.
Yes.
20 to 25 people probably left. And when I was on stage, there might have been 8 or 9 audience members and some of the remaining comics. I think that would be fair to say. And it was a pretty rough room. I tried to do some dirty stuff, and I realized very quickly it was not going to work. And I reversed course there, and I think I ended up just, if half the audience enjoyed themselves and were glad we arrived.
Yeah, your set was good.
Your set was especially good. They were really relieved. What a breath of fresh air when Delicious stands up there, because you never know what's going to happen, but it always seems original.
What's up, Austin? How you guys doing? Fucking right. A lot of beautiful people in here still left over. Hell yeah. Good set, girl.
Thanks, buddy.
Nice. Way to go.
Glad we could get on the road.
Good luck to you. You're into some kinky fart shit, huh?
Did you enjoy the Middle East?
I did. I had a good time.
What did you think about the other comedians?
The other comedians? I guess my expectations were a little bit higher for being in Boston.
Say the same thing.
And I guess not about them personally, but just being, I guess, in a metro.
I think the best way to sum up this section is just that, it was a strikingly new scene. It's felt like, I guess, the people that really take, I think I just end up repeating
Metropolitan
myself.
area, you would think there would be more.
That was kind of my take
working
of the
comics.
You have to wonder. I was able to meet up with my 3rd cousin today, who also lives in Boston, and that was fun. But I had told him, not the funniest people. I was very surprised.
I think it's a younger crowd.
I was very surprised. I told him, it must be that anybody who's really interested in comedy just immediately goes to New York City from here.
Right.
They don't really.
You did make the
They don't really
guess.
care. There was also, the host seemed very jaded. It was very strange.
Yeah.
I think there were some old timers there too. Some new people and some old timers.
Yes. Yeah. He seemed very. Man, he just kept sinking dark every time he'd get up there to introduce someone, and then just kept going with another joke
Here's
to try
what he'd
to
do.
enlighten it.
He would say, "Give it up for Joe Schmo." And he'd say, "All right," and then he'd talk a little about what just happened, and then maybe he'd talk to a crowd member, and then he'd try to tell a joke, and then he would pull out a bunch of notes and say, "All right, I'm going to do one more joke here before our next comedian," and then he would look for a joke for 30 seconds.
Yes.
In places if a heart takes it. You can get dark. You're gonna be all right though, bro.
This is Josh Day out of Boston. We're watching our Boston coverage from July this year.
In places if a heart takes it. You can get dark. You're gonna be all right though, bro. Don't be bringing them to open mics. You know what I'm saying? Do not bring new relationships to your open mics. This is for all of you. Don't do it. It's bad news, man. All right. Ready? Here we go. You really brought the fucking room down. And then I had to bring it back up by being so funny. All right. And then I thought about my ex-wife, and now I'm fucking... All right. My wife used to be into butt sex. Sorry, everything but sex. All right. This next comedian, I'll tell you, folks. I'll tell you.
Yes. And talk about some sad stuff.
Right. He would also just let us know how terrible the day it could have been. It was very strange.
Yeah. That's all right.
He was a nice
Sometimes
he was
you
a
need
nice
therapy
host.
on stage, man. Public therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just not often that you see a host go up there and completely zero out the room before every comedian,
Yes.
which was fine enough. And I felt okay about my set anyway. And we went on from there, found a liquor store, and then made it back to the hotel.
Yeah.
What a nice walk, too, over the Longfellow Bridge. Funny, I learned this about Longfellow today. The Longfellow Bridge is named after somebody named Longfellow. I'm not sure if he was a journalist or a writer, but he's actually responsible for making Paul Revere famous. He's the one who wrote about Paul Revere saying the British are coming. Actually, there were many, many riders.
Henry Long.
Oh, so Longfellow actually just wrote about it. He made Paul Revere famous. He's not a writer himself.
Longfellow.
So Paul Revere gets an odd respect where there were many, many riders that, some of these people in Boston can actually name the other riders.
Yeah, nice.
Not
Yeah,
me,
it's kind of
apparently.
interesting. There's a lot of fun facts that you can learn. Thursday morning, it's the 4th of July. We take that walk around the harbor side, and then we make it back. We go to, things start closing. We try to find some places to recreation or drink or whatever the case might be. And a lot of venues start closing because it's the 4th of July and the fireworks are starting soon.
Right.
And what did we even do yesterday? We just walked all around the city.
We walked all over the city. We checked out a lot of stuff.
We just tried to get
We seen the fish market down there and stuff.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
We went to the fish market. We went to the theater district and saw the Wang Theater and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, delicious. The Nuts Factory called, and they're all out of you.
Got to see Paramount Theater. There's a lot of cool stuff in Boston.
You know that Paramount Theater, he was just telling me that whole block just 10 years ago, my third cousin, he was just telling me that 10 years ago, that whole block there with the Paramount Theater, strip clubs.
Oh, no kidding.
That
Nice.
they took many, many years to work that, and things have really changed here in the last 15
It looks
years.
nice down
It's kind of
there.
interesting.
Yeah.
One thing we noted, the cleanliness in the city, and John had admitted maybe it was that they just cleaned up for the 4th.
Yeah.
But he did say, it's no Toronto, but it is a great clean city.
Yeah,
very clean.
Seemed very clean walking around. People were pleasant. Yeah.
People are pleasant.
Yeah.
He was going over to find the Walgreens yesterday while we walked past the hotel. I said, I'm going to go in and I had a beer or whatever. I said, I was going to try to catch the hotel bar. Unfortunately, they were closed.
Yeah.
But I made it into the lobby there, and so many people. I was gaffing and laughing with the people in the lobby, with the people at the front desk. I went into the elevator. There were 10 people in the elevator. We were laughing. I was cracking jokes. The people got off on the 5th floor, and they left. And I said, that must have been the fun couple. And everyone laughed. And then I got off on the 6th floor, and everybody said, good night. Have a great night. And everybody's very...
I'll tell you one thing about Boston. I was killing in that elevator. I would go down 3 or 4 times a day they had free water bottles at the front desk. So I was just collecting water bottles and putting full water bottles in my bag for when we left. So I was going through, but I was going down that elevator. People loved me. I was the talk of the town in Boston when it came to that elevator.
very pleasant around here. It's been pretty nice.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it so far. Yeah, a lot of cool architecture. Walking down the streets is almost surreal, kind of. It's kind of cool.
It is. It's old-fashioned. So finally, I guess there's a bit of an elephant in the room here.
Right.
While we're driving from Rochester, I was communicating with Blind Mike and Craig, and they had both indicated Wednesday and Thursday would be very difficult. They have a lot of plans that day, but Friday, Saturday, maybe we'll be able to meet up. So today's Friday.
We were in Rochester this morning.
I was on the phone with Craig.
Good episode with Carl and got a good episode. Is this my exit?
Boston, no, 135.
Right. Yeah, and we got a good episode, and I was on WATP Live with Delicious.
I woke up this morning. I went over and visited many of the historical areas and got footage and learned a little about the city and some of those statues and things and walked through the park and had a good time. Met up with my third cousin for lunch.
Right.
Unfortunately, he's actually fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure, but he's actually a pretty well-known magician locally.
Isn't that
which
interesting?
Is interesting enough. But he didn't want to be on camera or be associated with the show, so we didn't really get anything about hanging out with my third cousin. I thought that might be interesting, but he declined.
That was cool.
A great magician, though.
It's true.
And in my stand-up, I have a joke about him.
Right.
Yes, you do. A very great joke.
It's my closer.
Oh, I think it's my closer.
Yep.
Anyway, so we have a nice lunch there. And then we're just here tonight. We don't have any plans. We're just going to see the city. Like I had talked about earlier, the open mic culture here, pretty difficult. Apparently, almost no matter even a holiday week, you'd be what's the word?
Find something.
You'd be something to find
Yeah.
an open mic on a Friday in this area, unless maybe you drive to Springfield again, an hour and a half away from Boston.
Yeah. You'd be
So
hard
anyway.
up to find. Yeah.
We're probably going to go see the city, see the nightlife on a Friday there, maybe go to an arcade bar, and that should be a good time. Tomorrow, though,
Didn't happen.
we do have
Yeah.
plans there to make plans with Blind Mike Geary. I reached out to them both this morning. Craig told me that all of a sudden he's actually now in New Hampshire as of today.
Oh.
So I'm not sure what really happened there, but he is in New Hampshire. And Blind Mike Geary said he has to do a...
Oh.
No stone. Nobody told me about a chess part, but I would have been too intimidated. I'm, as we saw earlier, I'm 1,000 level. You really have to be like a 1,500 elo or something if you really want to go and put yourself out in public like that. At least that's my perception. Maybe I could find somebody, but it might be a little difficult and I would be pretty quickly discouraged. We'll finish. This is getting towards the end here, and excuse me. We'll finish our recap here of the Boston trip, and then I'll end the stream. This has been a nice stream here, though, and I appreciate everybody for stopping by. The first 5 or 7 minutes was me, and maybe the 30 minutes, people started filing in, asking some questions about it, but I talked a little about that drive time David Collins from this morning. We played some chess, and then we wrapped up the last 30 minutes or so watching our visual recap of the Boston trip from back in July there. So we're getting towards the end of that. We're going to finish this up, and then I'll be ending the stream. But I do appreciate people who stopped by today and asked some of those questions. I don't get that much of an opportunity here to kind of talk with you like that. So here we go.
So I'm not sure what really happened there, but he is in New Hampshire. And Blind Mike Geary said he has to do a... that he had to cater to, or whatever the case was. So that's today. So before we get out of town tomorrow, we'll probably be getting brunch or something with Blind Mike and making sure we hang out for a couple hours after we check out of this hotel.
Sounds great.
That's kind of what's been going on in Boston here.
Yeah. Oh, and I did, actually, speaking of, like, so kind, I was, I got some, what are they, psilocybin caps or something like that, too.
All right,
that was
Josh
very
Day.
generous. Yeah.
If anybody wants to find Josh Day on Instagram, if you see he's from Boston, I don't have any of his things. But if you need microdosing mushrooms, he provides that. Delicious.
Yes, he does.
Took part in that, and that's perfectly fine. They're in fancy glass bottles, so I'm sure maybe somebody out there would enjoy it.
And actually, I'll get his website to you or something there. Yeah,
Never
he
got me
sent
that
me his
website.
information.
Wow. Well, anything else?
Not
I think that's a pretty good recap.
Yeah, man.
We've done it. A little bouncing
know.
back and forth, but...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the fireworks were pretty good. Man, we've seen the fireworks.
Oh, we saw
so
the fireworks,
covered
of course,
that.
for the 4th. Got some footage of that. That was really good.
Yeah.
What a show. They
Yeah.
say Boston's one of the best places you can be for the 4th of July.
It was pretty. Very pretty out. Yeah.
Turn it down here for the fireworks, of course. We went and saw the fireworks for the 4th of July in Boston. It's actually listed as one of the best places in the country to go for the 4th of July. So it was great to be there for the fireworks and everything. Sam Bibley, thanks so much for joining today in both morning and evening. I hope you sleep well and dreams of Carl not being mad at you. I'm not sure, something along those lines. You had said something about that. I'll let the detective know. More fireworks. This is just a sample of all the firework coverage. Episode 5 of David Collins' 30-minute hour reality show is actually just going to be 80% fireworks. Everybody cheers. They cheer for the end of the fireworks.
A lot of people.
Everything does close early.
Yeah, I was
was true.
disappointed with that. Yeah, actually, there we go. A big shout out to Insomnia Cookies because they were the only ones that were open on our way back from the fireworks that I could get chocolate from.
Right.
So
he needed some chocolate. I got a hot dog. That was fine, but
was an
even
expensive
there,
hot dog.
they were doubling the prices at these stands after the fireworks,
right.
so
Yes.
you can't indulge too much.
Yep. Yeah, they saw the crowds coming and they flipped the switch.
No, these crowds were enormous.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
seen crowds? I'm not
It
sure
went
if I've
from
really
$6 to $12. It just flipped down on the board.
I'm not sure if I've ever been in the middle of.
I don't think I said anything here though. But somebody asked me, what did he say when I was filming this? He said, "What is this? What, you at Disneyland?" That's what he said. This guy right there in the left half of the frame, you can barely see him. As I'm turning around, getting a good scope of everything, he says, "What, you at Disneyland or something?" I said, "That's very funny." And then but we got our B-roll here.
It just flipped down on the board.
I'm not sure if I've ever been in the middle of such a large crowd like that.
Yeah. Chicago fireworks get like that. Like during the Taste of Chicago.
Right.
But that's been years. I won't do that. to
John
myself
said
again.
that there might have been 25,000 people at those fireworks.
Yeah, no doubt. Probably more.
Mike, you should probably stop mentioning his name.
Yeah.
Oh, John's a pretty common name.
That's a pretty
John.
common
How many
name.
Magician Johns do you think there are?
A lot.
Dude, like we're in Boston.
Nothing to do with
You
the
know,
question.
they're 5-0 at the POC.
Oh, I wish we got that on camera.
Yeah.
Boy, how
There's
disappointing.
yeah,
we
a
saw
lot
a local. He said, "Is that 5-0 in the POC?"
Ah, that's what it was. 5-0 in the POC.
Right.
I said, "Wow, I wish we got that on camera."
Yeah.
Anyway.
We should go ask him to rewind.
I don't know. You never know who's a local or who's a tourist until you hear them talking like that. I want to get a $4 pretzel later.
Ooh.
I never got that $4 pretzel.
Is that a big pretzel?
I think they're all right.
Okay.
Above average.
All right. Cool.
Good.
I want to get pictures with statues. I'm going to do tourist shit today.
We did some of that.
Sorry, sir, no pets allowed.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry about that.
There's a guy too close to the donkey. I said, "No pets allowed."
Perfect. Well, we're running out of time, but
Let's get it.
yeah. We can get some pictures with statues. That's more than enough of a recap. I don't even think that's... I don't think anything's rough in here, too.
we got
I think
some
I
more
might just
stuff.
put this all on the page.
The next day,
Nice.
and out of the
All
channel.
right. Well, I've been David Collins, and you've been the best.
Right. Hey, look, it's me.
Backing up here before checkout.
This is the end.
Almost there.
So yeah, Blind Mike was texting me this morning.
Oh, right. Well, we still thought that we were going to end up spending maybe the morning or breakfast
leaving
or
around
just
2
stopping
today?
for a
I
shot or something for the reality show. And that didn't work out. That was unfortunate. It was what it
Cross
was.
paths on a less hectic week. Sorry again for my lack of hospitality. And I explained, you understand, we're mobile, right? We can just run up wherever. How great to just get a handshake.
Yeah.
We just want to get it on the show and everything. And he says, I
Right.
know, I appreciate it. I thought today would work.
We had to bleep a lot of this out.
I hope we can find another time to get together, and I'd like to hear about the trip. Maybe something will change in the next few hours, but most likely it doesn't seem so.
Hopefully everything's okay.
Oh, look, it's a shirtless
Right?
delicious.
So we're here in Connecticut right now. We're on our way back. We're actually going to stop in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, so that should be a fun time. See some people over there.
Right.
But goodbye to Boston as of today. A little disappointed on the leave, but it was a fun time, so not much. I don't know what you could really expect. Apparently, there was a little emergency, so we weren't able to meet Blind Mike today, so that's all that happens. What can you do? Maybe some other time. I'm just going to go give the gifts that I brought for Blind Mike to random people in New Jersey. Perfect.
That was a little sad.
We're in Connecticut. We're getting pretty near New York City here, I think, and there was an accident way up there. We're gonna be like this for probably a total of 30 minutes by the end of it. Not ideal,
Cheers, Stone.
but welcome to New York.
New York.
Right.
Somerville.
Somerville. Not
much of a skyline.
Oh, they got a Staples.
Staples. Want to go to Staples tour?
And on our way to, we're in New Jersey now.
Staples tour of the country one day. I think that would be an interesting tour.
So that's what he did. He tried to commit suicide using a pallet guide.
One BB went there.
This is such a nice bridge too. I couldn't believe some of the bridges that we came across during the trip here.
Terrifying bridge.
And this is the end.
Finishing up our time in Lambertville here. Got to get back on the road by about 7:30 p.m. We'll probably drive all through the night there, and I think we're going to stop, make a quick stop in Michigan at about the early morning. It'll be 3 hours outish from Iowa. Lambertville's a pretty town, though.
And that was our Boston trip there. So it was great, and we did that with Delicious, so on the subject. But yeah, we ended up driving, so whatever time I said, about 7:30, a little bit before 8 p.m., and we drove through, I think I had to sleep at about 1 a.m., and then he drove from 1 a.m. to 4:30 we went to a 24-hour dispensary there in Michigan. And we got there about 4 a.m., and then I drove from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. back through Chicago and to Iowa. And that's how the Boston trip ended. But yeah, I wanted to cover some of the Drive Time David Collins this morning, say what's happening next week on David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, and then we just ended up doing a couple-hour stream. So I kind of made my exit earlier, but thanks everybody for watching. I hope that we got the point across here. And have a great night and a great Thursday morning. Happy hump day, everybody. I'm glad to have spent most of it, with a couple of you. All right. What I worry about is that if I push end, did it actually end a minute before? I think that's good. Perfect.